Are we live? I said, are we live? I think we are. And let's get it.
All right, everybody. Minister Brother Derrick here. I just want to see this real quick. It's 4:39. Let's go ahead and get it. Let's just go ahead and get this. Stop, look, and listen. Please stop resisting. It's a new day. Let's try a new way. Jesus put an offer on the table, and everyone out there is now able to come home with God in your heart. You're never alone. If you believe me, you don't need that weed. Give Jesus a hug and put down those drugs. The victory over death is already won. So why are you picking up that gun? If this word is actually in faith, why do you need that alcoholic drink? Because the devil tells you, he rules you, he fools you. But the minister is here to school you. I'm here to preach. I'm here to teach. It is you I'm trying to reach through this song.
Hey,
that I compose. When Jesus comes back, only God knows. Are you ready? Or are you sitting heavy? Are you ready? Or are you sitting heavy? You won't be if you follow me. Come on with it now. Oh God, what can I say about you? You still love us sinners and you offer your grace for free. I'm not worthy, but you still search me out of a life of sin. And with Jesus' help, I know I can win. I love serving my Lord. He opens the door to a relationship with God. This is the only way in. In the name of Jesus, I always pray and I lay myself as a footstool for the lost demons. I know that for me. It's not true to be a believer, but I'm not with my soul in the hands of the deceitful, but a wicked devil who brings up with for trouble. I put my desires on ice and I'm for riches. Paradise, a day with no pain, no stress. You gave me the way, and now I'm blessed. You can test me, as the devil stress me. But baby, hell is one place I don't want to see. So stop, look, and listen. Please stop resisting. It's a new day. Let's ride a new way. Are you ready, or are you sitting heavy? Stop, look, and listen. Please stop resisting. It's a new day. Let's ride a new way. Minister Brother Derrick. I hope y'all enjoyed that. Peace, everyone. Mr. Brother Derrick, come here, show real. And that's what I did. It's really hard to be a Christian in 2020. Yes, it is. Everybody seems to have a double standard, and we don't get no respect in the world. We are considered weak. We are considered soft. We are considered dumb for believing in the book. But yet these people have no moral. And you see what the world is going to do. We get no credit. So this is for those who are ignorant, who are rebellious, who are thinking on the Jesus. struggle, man, deal with the devil. He's a liar, he's a fraud, his desire is to keep me away from my God. There's a struggle every day to stay on course. I'm behind the enemy line, so I use the word of God as my force, my resource. Becoming a man to the negativity that surrounds me. The devil has a bounty on my head. Sometimes I dread coming outdoors. I feel like I've been begging for more. But it's okay, the devil can play his mind game, but he can't hurt me where it counts. That's currently. He tries to distract me physically, financially, but these things don't mean jack to me. I turn my back to thee. It's not easy. It's in man, things could be greedy. So always want what we can't have. Material is nothing to be hate. Don't make me laugh. I feel a joy man with a difference. It's all true. The both of these live will take me where I got to go. But if I chill still, now let me start perfection. So I out for election to be under the direction of a sick demon. Go into own my soul, no thanks. I roll with the Lord who is getting control. Every day I dance before the Lord, so I take it to be like an extension cord. I welcome all the stripes as long as my name is in the book of life. Let my light shine, let it broadcast worldwide. I let Jesus be my God, and if he let me live another day, I continue to come to the people and say, stop being selfish, stop saying, come to God and start winning. Minister Brother Derrick, let's get it. Welcome to the Minister Brother Derrick Show, and I am Minister Brother Derrick. I just want to say that I love Jesus, and that's the title of this song. I love you, Jesus. We'll follow you wherever you lead us. I love you, Jesus. Let the devil do Yo, let's get it.
Alrighty,
Welcome
y'all.
to the Sunday sermon, everyone. This is Brother Derrick.
Say that for the break. Welcome to the show, everyone. Welcome to the Wednesday Bible study. Welcome to the midday sermon. Even though I preached yesterday and the day before, this day is set aside. I want to do something a little different today. We have two topics today. Our first topic is, why is it that people are never satisfied? I'll ask you, why is it that people are never satisfied? If you live on a range in a log cabin and y'all need food to eat, and you go up there and you come back with 2 deers, why is it that your wife might say to you, well, the guy next door came back with 4? Well, it's just me and you. I don't think it was going to take me and you days to eat this much meat. Yeah, but they not going to have that husband not going to go out for a week. Well, I'm doing the hunting, not you. Why are you worried about how many times I have to go out there and hunt? See, why ain't people satisfied? He brought back enough for y'all to eat for the next 3 or 4 days. Why are you still getting on this case? You're not satisfied. You have to keep that meat good. You're in a log cabin. You don't have electricity. How long is your ice going to last? So it does make sense to get 3 or 4 days because you got to keep that meat from rotting. So why would you want him to come back with 4 or 5? And then you got to keep 4 or 5 on ice. It's easy to keep 2 on ice than it is to keep 4 on ice. Not satisfied. What if you got a son that always gets F in algebra? And he worked really hard and he come home one day and he show you a paper and it got a B on it. Why did you say, why don't you get an A? A plus would have been better. B is okay. It's better than what you've been doing. You're not satisfied. You won't even acknowledge the fact that he brought himself up from an F to a B. See, if you have praised him, that's going to make him want to come back with an A next time. But now you have told him that he wasn't good enough. He only brought home a B. Still a loser. Tried your hardest, and all you could do was bring me a B. What's that going to do? Send him into depression. And next time, he going to bring you back an F. And then you're going to say, see, I told you that B would mean nothing. He's an F child. Why is it that we never satisfied? I was talking to my friend today, and we were watching It's Jimmy, the stimulus check guy. All the people need and desire for the stimulus checks, people sub to him and watch his videos. He's grown to 250,000 subs. He averages 200,000 views a video, 12,000 thumbs up. And this man got to tell you 4 or 5 times in every video, don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to ring the bell. Don't forget the like button. Now he asks you to share the video on your Facebook and Instagram. You got 250,000 subscribers. You got the plaque from YouTube. I will never see the plaque from you. But he ain't satisfied. He ain't grateful for what he got. bring his wife and son on TV, exploit them, anything to get you to watch him. And he's successful. He's doing more talking about stimulus checks than anybody in this sector. And that includes Poppy, Tommy, and Sonetta, and Young Pharaoh. He's doing more just talking about stimulus checks. But he's not satisfied. He still gotta keep reaching. Just not satisfied. Still gotta keep reaching. Why? Why is that? I don't know if y'all updated it, but I took Brother Derrick's style and I made it preacher, Brother Derrick. My lady friend picked that name out, not me. So that's why that banner was up there. Let me get rid of it. Hold on. That's why that banner was up there. I'm trying to find. Is that it? No. There it is. Alright, get that banner out the way. So why is it that we never satisfied? Let's get that first article. What? Alright, it's 9 people here. How come nobody not saying nothing in the chat? This is going to be a fast show. Let's go ahead and breeze through this. Y'all see this? Let me make sure y'all can see it. Alright, let's blow it up. Alright. Why you may never be truly satisfied and why that's okay. The mixed blessing of reaching our goals. Have you ever set a goal, achieved it, became content, and then when looking for the next thing? It's fascinating how quickly our lives adjust to reaching a goal. We get our dream job and soon enough start wondering when the next promotion will come. We moved into a new house and then a few years later start dreaming of the next dream house. We quickly adjust our realities, constantly creating new normals, and then we want more. We all have different goals, different mountains to climb. One person's climb may be about sobriety, another's might be about diet, someone else's might be trying to find a passion. And we often think we reached the top of the mountain only to realize it was just really the base of another larger one. And so we start out again. Generally this works. If we had to reach the zenith all at once, we might be too intimidated to begin. Popular inspirational speaker Ayanya Vazant puts it another way, posting that there are curves in the road because if you were shown how long a stretch you actually have left, you never drive yourself there. These curves that only show a little bit of the road at a time so you can focus on that piece. The lesson today, focus on the piece that's in front of you. The better you manage that stretch, the better you be set for the next leg, whatever it is. And when we make it to a peak, or what appears to be a finish line, we discover that it's just a plateau or a curve that we couldn't see, couldn't imagine from the place where we began. The reality is that our journey stretches as long as we live, and if we ever think we've made it to the end, we might be limiting ourselves. We just don't realize it when we set our current goals. This is why so many of us never really truly feel happy or fully satisfied. We want to see today's goal as a destination because that allows us to feel a sense of certainty, finality, and accomplishment when we reach it as it should. However, there's another piece that often gets lost, which is that we're always in a state of change. It's not about wanting more, but about being present for where we are and the people we become at every new stage of our journey. It's not specifically about the better job, home, or relationship. The truth is that wherever we are, there will always be something more to reach for. The question then becomes, how do we balance being content and grateful where we are while also being okay striving for something still greater? It's not easy. Oprah Winfrey once said, I got so focused on the difficulty of the climb that I lost sight of being grateful for simply having a mountain to climb. It's in my road to have new goals, but as we look for the next big thing, as we aspire to the next peak, we first need to take time to appreciate the views from the climb and make those feelings to our new destination. So take time to pause, look around, and see how far you come. When we start driving up the mountain, we're hyper-focused on the road ahead as we drive in a demanding zigzag formation. But if we pause on the side of the road after a time to safely look over our shoulder, we'll realize how far we come from the base. I'll leave you with one last quote from Bon Jovi. Oh Lord. Anytime you think you hit the top of the mountain, the truth of the matter is you just reached another mountain, and it's there to climb all over again. Think about it when you are in your climb. Have you reached the top of one mountain and are now enjoying the view, or are you already preparing for the next climb? Maybe you're in the middle of your climb and struggling to make it through. Wherever you are, you can enjoy the view. There's something worth seeing from every point in your journey. All right. Why striving for happiness makes people miserable? Oh yeah, I got thirsty. All right. Blow this up so everybody can see it. What? A huge happiness and positive thinking industry, estimated to be worth $11 billion a year, has helped to create the fantasy that happiness is a realistic goal. Chasing the happiness dream is a very American concept, exported to the rest of the world through popular culture. Indeed, the pursuit of happiness is one of the U.S.'s unalienable rights. Unfortunately, this has helped to create an expectation that real life stubbornly refuses to deliver. Because even when all our material and biological needs are satisfied, a state of sustained happiness will still remain a theoretical and elusive goal. As Abd al-Rahman III, Caliph of Cordoba in the 10th century discovered, he was one of the most powerful men of his time who enjoyed military and cultural achievements, as well as earthly pleasures of his two harems. Toward the end of his life, however, he decided to count the exact number of days during which he had felt happy. They amounted to precisely 14. How are you supposed to read this? Happiness, as the Brazilian poet Vinícius de Moraes put it, is like a feather flying in the air. It flies light but not for very long. Happiness is a human construct and an abstract idea with no equivalent in actual human experience. Positive and negative effects do reside in the brain, but sustained happiness has no biological basis. and perhaps surprisingly, I reckon this is. I can't see the rest of it. They want me to log in. Well, scratch that one. Boo! Ain't gonna hold me hostage. Right on moving. Why is it that some people can never be satisfied? A new study suggests what keeps the chronically dissatisfied so disgruntled. You've gone out of your way to do a huge favor for a friend. In fact, a favor that this friend requested you to perform. You don't feel you have to be rewarded for every kind gesture, but this one took a considerable amount of effort. Expecting at least a courtesy email or text, your kind gesture was met with a definite silence. Much to your dismay, a few days later, the ungrateful recipient finally acknowledges your help, but not in the way you expected. Perhaps the request was to give your friend a ride home during a rainy day rush hour. The traffic was terrible, so you had to drop your friend off across the street instead of in front of the doorstep. As she leaves your car, she frowns at you through the window and slams the door hard. Needless to say, she never thanks you, and the next time you see her, she barely utters a greeting. Were you supposed to apologize? Was it wrong of you to inconvenience her? How can you explain the fact that you've been made to feel guilty when you should feel acknowledged? Why are some people so demanding that they constantly raise the ante and their request that you cater to them? The answer might seem to be a simple case of narcissistic entitlement, and certainly there is that piece to the puzzle. However, according to new research, narcissism alone can't explain some people's lack of gratitude. Hope College, Michigan's Charlotte Whitvilliet and colleagues 2019 believe that some people just lack the personality quality of gratitude. The authors note that as a trait, gratitude is an experience of abundance, with awareness that one is the recipient of a good gift from a giver. The authors go on to define the experience of gratitude as a deeply social emotion. If gratitude is a trait, it means that an ingrate is likely to remain an ingrate for life. Additionally, people low in gratitude should also be chronically unhappy. Forever disgruntled, they can't see a gift for what it is. They'll be unable to experience that inner reward that comes from having a sense of abundance, and therefore, no matter what other qualities they have, they can never be happy. In the previous research cited by Whitfield and her co-authors, people in high gratitude regard an interpersonal offense not as an insult or letdown, but instead as an opportunity for growth, from which they derive resilience. Cognitive appraisal plays an important role in this process. Then, this is why your favors to an ungrateful person don't have their intended effects. Ingrates are programmed to view favors as never being good enough. One of the interpersonal dangers of being chronically ungrateful, then, is that life becomes an endless, self-fulfilling prophecy of other people's failures to right by you. From whatever point in your life that your ingratitude became a part of your fabric of personality, and you'll be unable to turn the corner on your jaded outlook. We might also imagine that the people who do favors for the ungratefully eventually give up on trying to be nice. A vicious cycle is set in motion in which ingratitude beget ingratitude via the normal interpersonal rhythms in which people are nice to people who are nice. What sets this vicious cycle in motion? The Hope College researchers approach this question by investigating the conditions that might stimulate gratitude's growth. Some of the methods other investigators have tried, they note, include setting up experimental manipulations of counting blessings, writing gratitude letters, conducting gratitude lessons in the schools, and writing gratitude diaries. Such interventions appear, the authors include, to improve the subjective well-being of participants as they start to experience the positive social emotion that comes with feeling grateful. Hey, where we at? All right, here we go. Could a gratitude intervention also increase not just gratitude but hope? Unlike gratitude, which involves the perception of a current reward, hope involves the positive anticipation of receiving a future desired outcome. Maybe chronic ingrates don't just lack the ability to see past reward for what it is, but they've also come to believe that they will not receive rewards in the future either. Via that interpersonal reinforcement cycle, they've learned, in other words, not to expect other people to be nice to them, so they give up hope. After having shown a correlation study on undergraduates that the trait of gratitude could predict the traits of hope and happiness, as predicted, the authors went on the experimental manipulation component of the study. In the intervention study, another sample of undergraduate participants identified and wrote about a specific outcome they were hoping to experience, but one they cannot completely control. Those in the gratitude writing group then completed a writing assignment with instructions to reflect on the time in the past where you had hoped from an outcome and your hope was fulfilled. The prompts further instructed participants to discuss such outcomes as the life lessons they had learned, the steps they or others took to contribute to the outcome, whether they had grown spiritually, and whether they had gained insight into their own character strengths throughout the experience. The final prompt asked them, as you reflect on this past fulfilled hope in your life, identify and name what you are grateful for and to whom you are grateful. As you can see, the exercise didn't quite force, but certainly encouraged all participants to reflect on aspects of their fulfilled hopes for which they were particularly grateful. Both outcomes of higher hope and happiness were observed in the grateful remembering group versus the control. Importantly, their so-called trait gratitude scores were significantly higher in the group prompted to write about this gratitude-inducing experience. If a trait can be manipulated through the simple intervention as a brief writing exercise, it begs the question of whether it might not take that much to encourage gratitude in people who are always finding reasons to find fault in their favor, producing friends. To sum it up, the study showed that, at least among this relatively select sample of undergraduates, gratitude is a quality that can be nurtured. That study also suggests that when the conditions are that might create the eternally dissatisfied, for some reason, perhaps early in life, their hopes were sparked, and they learned never to expect anything out of anybody. The cycle of negative expectations led them to be the type of people no one wants to help. Would you give your friend another ride? Unlike people who can feel and experience gratitude, they don't see the good in what other people do, and when they feel rebuffed, they react with anger and resentment. Fulfillment in relationship depends on, at least in part, the interpersonal niceties that people provide for each other. Ingrates may never change their spots, but it's possible that the right conditions might allow some of them to fade. Is that it? Good information in there, but man, the writing style is boring. By typing in the chat, let's keep going. It's gonna be a fast show. What does the Bible say about forgiving others? The Bible is crystal clear on the subject of forgiving others. But why is it so important, and how do I get the strength to forgive them? Forgiving others can be really difficult. Forgiving others is important, but sometimes it can be really difficult to do. Why should I forgive, and how can I do it? Then Peter came to him and said, Lord, how often shall my brother sin against me, and I forgive him? Up to 7 times, Jesus said to him. I do not say to you up to 7 times, but up to 70 times. Matthew 18:21-22. For if you forgive men their trespasses, your heavenly Father will also forgive you. But if you do not forgive men their trespasses, neither will your Father forgive your trespasses. Forgiving others who have wronged you, whether for a relatively small thing or for a seriously damaging act against you, can sometimes seem like an insurmountable, difficult thing to do. In some cases, it's a process that really takes time. Yet the Bible is crystal clear on the necessity of it. And there are no caveats such as unless, if, or but. As in all things, we need to look to our forerunner, captain, and master as an example. Christ. Christ suffered unrighteousness, even cruel unrighteousness. No one could have suffered more unrighteously than Christ. And some of the last words he ever uttered were, Father, forgive them. They know not what they do. Is it easy? No. Is it impossible? All things are possible to him who believes, said Jesus. Mark 9:23. All things. And when you don't have the power, when you know there is not in you to forgive, then you'll have to find it in Christ. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Philippians 4:12-13. Does forgiving negate the pain you have suffered? Does it reverse the things that have happened to you? Does it mean the person who wronged you doesn't have to take responsibility for his or her actions? No. But you want to be free from the thoughts of hatred and bitterness and the burden they are. Forgiveness is not done for the sake of the one you are forgiving, but for your own sake, so that you don't have to live with the burden. But to you who fear my name, the Son of Righteousness shall arise with healing in his wings, and you shall go out and grow fat like stall-fed calves. Malachi 4:2. The fact that you forgive someone does not condone what they have done, nor does it by any means make it right. Trust is not implicit on forgiveness, nor is it forgetting obligatory. Forgive and forget is not a biblical quote. It's one thing to be wary and aware, and another thing to hate and resent. God is righteous. Ideally, the one who has harmed you would repent and atone for what they've done as well, but make sure your healing is independent of that. You should forgive regardless of their attitude. Their sins are between them and God. It is right for someone to face up to the consequences of their actions according to earthly authority and law, and they will someday stand before God's face and have to give an account for their actions. And God is righteous above all else, but judgment and vengeance belong to God. It is important to note that forgiveness is not a feeling. It's a choice. Choosing forgiveness means that you will have to go to God on your knees for the power to forgive. It's choosing not to let thoughts of hatred rule in your heart. It's choosing to go to God to find help and comfort instead of dwelling on the past, even when our feelings would rather do anything but. The power we need for this we get from the Holy Spirit, Jesus. And when he was reviled, did not revile in return. When he suffered, he did not threaten, but committed himself to him who judges righteously. 1 Peter 2:23. Draw near to God, and in his love, you'll find everything you need. Well, let's get to the last article. Before you can get up out of here, I can write the last one. Six things Jesus says about forgiveness. Man, get this off here. I don't want to see this. It's not here. Forgiving people who wronged us is one of the most difficult things God asks us to do. Minor insults and slights can be easier to forgive. But what if the offense against you is so painful that it seems unpardonable? How can you forgive someone who broke your heart or hurt someone you love? Thankfully, we have the perfect example of forgiveness in Jesus, who while in agony on the cross said, "Forgive them, Father. They do not know what they are doing." Luke 24. Jesus makes it clear that we must model our forgiveness of others on God's forgiveness of our sins. Here are a few lines from Scripture in which Jesus talks about the grace of forgiving and why it's essential. If you forgive others the wrongs they have done to you, your Father in heaven will also forgive you. But if you do not forgive others, then your Father will not forgive the wrongs you have done. Matthew 6:14-15. If your brother sins, rebuke him, and if he repents, forgive him. If he sins against you 7 times in one day, and each time he comes to you saying, "I repent," you must forgive him. Luke 17:3-4. And when you stand and pray, forgive anything you may have against anyone, so that your Father in heaven will forgive the wrongs you have done. Mark 11:25. Do not judge others, and God will not judge you. Do not condemn others, and God will not condemn you. Forgive others, and God will forgive you. Luke 6:37. Then Peter came to Jesus and asked, "Lord, if my brother keeps on sinning against me, how many times do I have to forgive him? 7 times? No, not 7 times, answered Jesus, but 70 times 7. Matthew 18:21. Drink it, all of you. It is my blood which seals God's covenant. My blood poured out for many for the forgiveness of sins. Matthew 26:27-20. No comments? Oh well, let's keep moving. It's gonna be a fast show. But we still gonna do it.
What do you have for us this morning? What's going on, Mr. Walt Gray? We're not, it's not unusual to see a crowd forming at Disneyland. However, it's rare that you see an angry mob. Well, not so. And also, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? Last night, we got a sample. Take a look. Who wants to be a millionaire?
The series' newest season premiered last night, hosted by Jimmy Kimmel.
I believe in you, Jimmy.
But this season you'll see more than just celebrities vying for the $1 million prize.
A combination this year of celebrities and people who have been affected by this scenario with the COVID that we're in.
You can watch new episodes Sundays, 9 p.m. right here on ABC 10. Unhappy employees and fans outside the happiest place on earth. Cast members and enthusiasts alike rallied outside Disneyland in Anaheim over the weekend, demanding state leaders allow the park to reopen.
I think the governor needs to give us a chance to open, and they keep asking, but he keeps pushing the bar farther back.
Disneyland's been closed since March. Governor Newsom said he's in no hurry to let theme parks reopen in California. And Liam Neeson's Honest Thief topped the weekend box office with a humble $3.7 million haul. Robert De Niro's The War with Grandpa came in second, and in third place, Christopher Nolan's Tenet.
Wow, it's kind of odd to be talking about new movies headed to the box office, but yeah, studios are starting to push a few movies into theaters as they safely, on occasion, reopen. I hate to put you on the spot, Mr. Walgrave, but I mean, you didn't frequent a movie theater even prior to the pandemic, so I'm curious to know, Kate?
I'm bored. Next story, please. I should look at that one. They all can't be good. That guy was annoying. All right, let's keep moving.
Tragedy in Trenton last night when 2 children were shot and killed in their own home. Police say someone on the street fired shots into the house, hitting the brothers, an 8-year-old and a 16-year-old on the second floor. So far, no arrests.
On the consumer.
Introducing the Mobile Skimmer. So we partnered with, as well as built out a team of engineers to custom manufacture this vessel.
On the consumer.
I ain't gonna say nothing. I ain't gonna say nothing. Just go ahead and do what you gotta do. Oh.
Now to this chilling surveillance video capturing a gun battle after armed intruders storm a home in northwest Miami-Dade. That young homeowner jumping into action to protect her son.
And we're talking weeks later now. That home is still riddled with bullet holes. Just go to Local 10's Leanne Miller Home live now with this terrifying tale tonight. Leanne.
This was just a fucking situation for this family. This mother says that her infant kid, when she pulled out a gun.
They could have killed him. They could have killed me. They didn't care at all.
26-year-old Ansley Pacheco recounts the horror you're seeing in this surveillance video. Robbers storming her home, her friend's husband, and 7-year-old son ambushed at gunpoint.
Do you have any idea who these people are?
We don't. To get caught.
It happened the night of October 4th at this home along the 8,200 block of Northwest 86th Avenue. Pacheco says a friend pulls up to watch the Heat play in the finals when waiting criminals catch him off guard.
While I was in the bathroom, I started to hear the commotion. I started hearing, get down, give me everything you got. I went to the nightstand, I grabbed the gun, that's when I opened the door. I saw one of them standing like face to face with me. He told me to put the gun down. I just shook my head no, and then I told like 6-7 times, shots came through the room. They finally just ran out. My husband came, he got the gun, he ran out this way and got back at the vehicle that was,
Pictures from inside the home show the damage left behind by these bold robbers who made off with pricey watches and jewelry. Pacheco says she had no choice but to try and defend her family.
I just knew that I had to do something, and my first instinct was to grab the gun and to defend my husband and my son.
And so if you have any information on the people who were behind this really brazen crime, go ahead and call Miami-Dade Crime Stoppers at 305-471. We're live in Northwest Miami-Dade. I'm Leanne.
If you was gonna grab the gun, you should went there and start shooting. I'm sorry. That's just simple. You grabbed a gun, you should just went there and start shooting. It shouldn't even been no debate. But anyway, I'm glad that nobody got hurt. They can replace the stuff they stole. But they had insurance for it. One thing is they're alive.
Imagine moving into a rental home and then learning a week later you didn't move out because you rented it from a scammer. That's what happened to one young couple. They're dealing with it right now. Warning for all renters. Mila and Gigi and Naive found the perfect rental home.
We even bought our new rug. We got our Wi-Fi turned on.
This cute little cottage.
We found this apartment on Craigslist, this house. We came and we called the landlord. They told us to meet him over here to look at it.
They met the landlord, signed the lease, and paid him a $500 money order deposit. But days after moving in, they got a visit from the real landlord.
They were coming here to lock us out. We didn't even know what was going on.
Turns out the lease and the rental company were fake. The real owner wanted them out and was turning off their water.
The water is not. They turned the water off.
It's called the house rental scam, and it's getting slicker and slicker. Scammers will find a legitimate house or an apartment for rent. They will repost the ad on Craigslist, give the tenants a phony lease sign, and take the deposit money.
This feels like we're just lost. There's nothing we can do.
Like they can do nothing.
That's what it looks like. Dila and Gigi went to the police, but learned they're probably out of luck.
It's a civil situation right now. Hoping that the landlord and the tenants that are currently living there will let them stay there.
Our team contacted the owners, and a man told us they will now let the couple stay 30 days if they fill out an application and submit a new deposit. But Dila doesn't know if they can afford it now.
I don't know what we're going to do. They got our money.
Bottom line, Craigslist rental listing that see neighborhood and landlords who don't have any property when you got it.
What? No key? Oh, no. No, I felt sorry for him to that point. I felt sorry for him up to that point. Now I don't feel sorry for him. You can't be that stupid. I'm sorry. I got to tell it like it is. I got to tell the truth. That's just they ain't had no keys. Let you see the place. How did they get in?
Losing sleep over an ear-splitting racket. Neighbors on the Upper West Side are desperate to get a hostel's alarm removed. People who live near this hostel say that the noise is just too much.
They say it just keeps blaring at all hours of the day and night. CBS 2's Alice Gaynor live on the Upper West Side with the story you'll see only on 2. Alice.
Well, the alarm goes off whenever anyone steps onto the porch near the door of the building behind me here. We actually spoke with the manager of the hostel. He says the alarm was a last resort to try to deter people from sleeping and hanging out there. There it goes again. The alarm is loud. Ear-splitting loud.
Would happen at like 1 a.m., 3 a.m. In fact, Sunday night it actually woke me up at 3 a.m.
As we spoke with neighbor Tomas Moser.
That's the alarm. That's the alarm right there. That's the alarm.
It went off again.
Whenever I'm in online class, like if I'm talking and the alarm ends up going off, my classmates will end up hearing it and everything.
There are a handful of 311 complaints about a chronic alarm at High New York City Hostel, a landmark building on Amsterdam Avenue between 103rd and 104th Streets. The manager spoke to us but did not want to show his face on camera.
The biggest problem is the homeless problem here in particular. Kept using that foyer up there for a bathroom to sleep up there. I was finding hypodermic needles. I was finding condoms. I was finding a lot of disgusting things.
He's a homeless guy. He usually sleeps there. He says the hostel was closed during the height of the pandemic, and neighbors complained to him about some of the homeless hanging out there.
In the middle of the night, it's the whole day. There you go.
As we spoke with him, he pointed out one of the men on the steps of the hostel, who normally stays on the porch area. He alleges that man can get violent.
You know, nobody can make noise like that throughout the night and during the day, non-stop.
So he says he came up with the alarm and had it installed a few weeks ago.
I called the police. They say it's not their business.
Every time I call the police, they come and say there's nothing they could do. catch-22 here. What can I do now? I don't want to upset the neighbors.
Well, tonight the manager put yellow caution tape on the steps leading up to the door there, hoping that nobody will climb up those steps. Tomorrow morning, he says, an electrician is coming to dismantle the alarm. On the Upper West Side, Alice Gaynor, CBS 2 News.
Not a moment too soon, Alice. Thank you.
Huh? Deal with the homeless. Figure out a way to deal with them instead of trying to come up with these crazy ideas.
Detectives tell us that Domingo Baroa was nabbed as he was at the international gate at JFK Airport trying to board a flight to the Dominican Republic. Once they got intel on this ticket being bought, they raced over and ultimately arrested him before he could leave the country. So this morning, Barrero is waking up behind bars here and is due in front of a judge at Bronx Criminal Court later today. This 32-year-old man from the Bronx is facing charges in the Monday murder of a 19-year-old woman after he allegedly opened fire in that after-hours club. While he apparently tried to flee the country yesterday, he didn't get very far. Domingo Baroa, we found out from sources, has a rap sheet that includes 4 prior arrests and include drugs and vehicular assault charges. This latest criminal case is accused of shooting Gwendolyn Ortiz to death Monday morning. Police sources tell us the 19-year-old woman was an innocent bystander sitting at a table at the Jerome Avenue Social Club when bullets flew inside around 7 a.m. 2 other men were wounded in the gunfight, but they survived. Police say all of it stemmed from an argument at the bar and that Ortiz was not the intended target. The Mixed Tech Club was operating illegally during the pandemic, according to detectives. And the victim, again, Gwendolyn Ortiz, had survived a previous brush with death. She was in the neighborhood when shots were fired back in June. She survived that shooting incident, though tragically she lost her life just this past Monday. Again, police saying that she was an innocent bystander in it all. Now her friends and family have appealed to strangers online asking for help with her funeral. That is the latest. Live here in the concourse section of the Bronx at Criminal Court. I'm Anthony DiLorenzo, Pix 11 News.
All right. They got the man. We covered the story. And go back. Those of you that follow us, we covered that story. And the woman was shot a couple months ago in that same area. That same block. And she still kept going back. Well, I tell you, I don't get it. All right, y'all, this is just sad.
We're back at the Clinton and Washington Avenue subway station in Fort Greene, Brooklyn, late Tuesday, where they say this man shoved a 73-year-old grandmother onto the Manhattan-bound tracks after punching her 80-year-old husband and 30-year-old grandson.
Elderly people, why would you do that to them? That's so sad.
Officials say it was all over a cigarette the suspect was smoking on the platform. They say the 30-year-old victim confronted the man and asked them to put it out. That's when, according to detectives, the suspect snapped.
How can anybody react to something like that? It's not acceptable. It's unimaginable. It's happening.
Police say it all happened around 1:45 Monday afternoon. The suspect shoved the 30-year-old to the ground, punching him in the face and leaving him bloodied. The 82-year-old grandfather tried to step in when he was also punched. Then, as the 73-year-old grandmother attempted to break up the melee, she was shoved onto the tracks. Incredibly, oncoming train stopped short of striking.
That man beat the whole family up.
Real evil. I don't know how you sleep yourself at night.
That don't make no sense. I hope they find out who did that. That don't make no sense. That's ridiculous. That's just ridiculous.
The mayor says there is a push to get more parents to agree to random COVID-19 testing in school children. But despite only having 20% signed consent forms, the mayor says it's not an immediate concern.
Right now, we've had plenty of folks to be tested. Not a problem at all. We're going to keep getting more and more consent forms. They've been coming in steadily.
I don't see a problem in the short term.
Mayor de Blasio admits students are being skipped over until their consent form is in, when the city originally said their policy was to have those kids learn remotely until they agreed to testing.
Consistently, we're seeing an incredibly low positivity rate. We're also encouraging families to go get tested outside of school.
The latest testing shows out of more than 16,000 tests, only 28 are positive, 20 staff members and 8 students, giving a 0.17% positivity rate. The sample was taken from 377 schools. 99% of those tests came back in 48 hours. Since October 9th, each of the city's 1,600 schools will be testing 10 to 20% of their population once a month. While the sample is large enough for now, according to the mayor, that will soon change, especially with the warning of a second wave of coronavirus and flu season approaching.
As much as possible. We would love for schools to happen. She's 4. I have a son who's 7. And school would be great all the time. They need it.
We're going to encourage parents in every way to sign those consent forms. I do think some parents have questions they need answered. They need to talk to doctors. We're facilitating that. Or they need to speak to someone in their own language. We're facilitating that.
Man, you got 33,000 people dead in your damn state. If I had a child, I wouldn't let her go nowhere near your stinking funky school. Alright? I wouldn't let a child go nowhere. You want everybody to risk their kids. Where your kids at? I bet you your kids ain't going there.
After 100 years.
I bet you your kids ain't going there. I bet you that. They want your kids to go there though. Come on.
The governors today about how we can help them with their spikes. There is no practical way to quarantine New York from New Jersey and Connecticut.
New York Governor Andrew Cuomo is now discouraging non-essential travel to New Jersey, Connecticut, and Pennsylvania. This comes as COVID-19 cases are soaring. Here in New Jersey, there are 11.4 cases per 1,000 people. That would put the state on its own quarantine list.
And I would just say that today, another day of over 1,000 cases, 114 right here in Essex County. And sadly, we announced 2 fatalities from this county today.
Governor Phil Murphy in South Orange today for an education announcement.
It is now my great honor to introduce the acting commissioner of the New Jersey Department of Education, Dr. Angelica Allen McMillan.
Teachers, staff, and district level administrators, I want to acknowledge your critical contribution to our overall response to this pandemic.
A pandemic that has not only disrupted school, but caused thousands of deaths and heartache throughout the state.
And people are getting a little relaxed with the masks, and, everybody wants to go back to normal life, so, it's kind of expected.
Tenafly mom Lila Kogan watched as the town's middle school shut down for the past 2 weeks due to COVID-19. It resumes in-person hybrid school tomorrow.
I'm looking forward to it, to get back in school, because I don't really like virtual school.
This has happened over and over again throughout New Jersey since the year began. Schools opening and closing for COVID-19 cases. In Newark, it's been remote since the start, and the city announced it will continue until at least early 2021. New Jersey's positive test rate today is 3.5%.
And they still keep asking you to send your kids back. We're going.
About this is that we haven't even yet started flu season.
The United States is averaging at least 55,000 new known COVID-19 cases per day. That's more than a 60% hike since September.
I'm extremely worried, and epidemiologists have been predicting a fall spike for a long time.
As of Sunday, only 2 states, Missouri and Vermont, are showing at least a 10% drop in.
When you have people congregating en masse, not wearing masks, not doing
distance, barely using hand sanitizer, those are the perfect conditions in which you get the spread of the coronavirus from one person to another.
Despite the increase in cases and deaths, Dr. Anthony Fauci, the top infectious disease expert in the nation, does not want to close down the country again.
Put shutdown away and say we're going to use public health measures to help us safely get to where we want to go.
Some state leaders are pushing restrictions while vaccine research and testing continue.
Most Americans are going to be getting vaccinated in 2021, and we're probably looking at a March, April, if things go very well, time frame when let's say a large proportion get access to vaccine.
And here in the tri-state, New Jersey and Connecticut have reached the qualifications for their own travel restrictions. That calls for travelers from several states to self-quarantine for 14 days.
Honey, you are so pretty. Well, take that crap out your damn head. I must say, that one didn't look half bad, but still. If you're that pretty, you don't need it. You don't need it.
NYPD officers struck by a Jeep in Brooklyn. It happened around 1 a.m. during a traffic stop at West 23rd Street, Mermaid Avenue in Coney Island. Police say the officer was struck as the Jeep took off. He suffered minor injuries. The Jeep was found nearby. Police say the driver ran away and a female passenger is being questioned.
Probably worrying about that girl instead of looking at the road. He ain't ran over a police officer. He in trouble. All right, Las Vegas ain't playing.
Police are still ramping up their efforts to curb the recent spike in violence on the Strip. It's called Operation Persistent Pressure, and it continued this weekend. 110 people were arrested, 10 guns were recovered, and nearly $30,000 in cash was seized on Friday and Saturday. Officers also conducted nearly 600 stops between pedestrians and vehicles.
Las Vegas ain't playing. Y'all planning on going to Las Vegas. Y'all better be on your P's and Q's. That marinate. 600 stops the police made. 110 arrests in one night. That's crazy. Commercial. See it? Yes, you can.
Middle of a Phoenix street. Troopers have told us their story, and now tonight we have the video showing it all go down. It's our top story right now at 10.
ABC 15's Zach Crenshaw is live. And Zach, walk us through this video and then where this investigation stands.
Yeah, well, just this week, a 17-year-old who is charged with attempted second-degree murder pleaded not guilty. DPS has been searching for a second suspect who sped off once those shots were fired 3 weeks ago. DPS tonight releasing new surveillance video from a nearby home that shows exactly what went down.
And while sitting in his car, completely unexpectedly, he was ambushed.
That's how DPS Director Colonel Heston Silbert characterized the September 17th shooting involving 17-year-old Luis Espinoza Acuna.
And he began to shoot at our trooper as he exited his vehicle.
But new video released by the state police agency may paint a different picture.
The trooper sees suspect Acuna raise the weapon at him, then immediately gets out of his vehicle and draws his duty weapon.
It's at that point the teen appears to fire. The bullets narrowly missing the trooper, hitting the front windshield and window.
Our trooper was clearly visible in his vest that said police. There was no question. It was an ambush, and he was identifiable as a police officer.
But based on how fast it all happened, and the fact that the trooper stood behind the door in his unmarked car, which had tinted windows, there is a question. And a dispute from the teen's attorney, Andrew Bishleck.
It was a total spontaneous event, and it was not an ambush.
This is the exact spot where that video shows the 17-year-old firing shots. But neighbors say the mom has told them her son didn't know he was firing at a DPS trooper. After the shooting, the teen almost immediately drops his gun, scrambles behind a wall, throws his hands up, then lays out in a prone position.
It was a significant amount of rounds for a trooper to be able to suppress the threat of the suspect.
DPS, though, still won't say how many shots were fired in the neighborhood, though no one was hit. Meanwhile, the man who dropped Luis off sped off.
We are still looking for the driver of the Silver Infinity.
And despite a blue alert and 3 weeks of searching, he still hasn't been found.
Now, you may remember that Blue Alert was incredibly vague and didn't include any of the information required by state law. DPS told us back then there was, quote, a glitch, and that they were going to investigate. When asked about that investigation and what they found, the spokesperson didn't respond. Live tonight, Zach Crenshaw, ABC 15, Arizona.
That's daggone shame. I don't know what they doing down there in Arizona. Oh, no, get out of here. Yeah, I can, yeah. Oh, no. All right, y'all, this story, I can't believe. You're not going to believe it either. This is just crazy. You got a young man that says he can't wait to get the coronavirus. Oops.
Was human challenge trials, which differ significantly from regular human trials by exposing volunteers directly to the coronavirus. Despite the risks, some volunteers seem more than eager to sign up. Here's CNN's Phil Black.
Alistair Fraser Urquhart desperately wants to be infected with the coronavirus.
I've just got the email.
He's part of the campaign group One Day Sooner. It's been busy recruiting COVID-willing volunteers, so far tens of thousands around the world, and lobbying the UK government to use them for potentially risky research.
I wake up thinking about challenge trials, and I go back to bed thinking about challenge trials.
Challenge trials involve giving healthy people a potential vaccine, like this one developed by London's Imperial College, then later testing it by deliberately dosing them with the virus.
By taking that small risk on myself, I can, potentially protect thousands of other people's from, having to be infected without consenting to it.
Advocates say challenge trials are more efficient than the usual method of waiting for large numbers of test subjects to be exposed to a specific virus in the real world. With numerous COVID-19 vaccines being developed, some scientists think challenge trials could help identify the best of them sooner.
At the moment, governments are just having to buy at risk lots of different vaccines, hoping that one of them is going to work.
Dr. Martin Johnson works for hVivo, the testing company hired by the British government to set up challenge trials for 3 possible vaccines. Its London facility has years of experience running similar programs with influenza and other viruses. But working with this new coronavirus is far riskier. The trials will be conducted at London's Royal Free Hospital, which has the UK's only Category 3 biocontainment ward. And the first round of volunteers will be exposed to the virus without getting a vaccine.
We're basically watching disease in motion right from the very start of inoculation right through to the disease going out of the body. So it gives us an absolute view of what is happening to the human body during an infectious process.
The company says challenge trials can be conducted safely because treatments are now available, like the antiviral remdesivir and the steroid dexamethasone. But the World Health Organization recently found remdesivir doesn't appear to save COVID-19 patients' lives or help them recover sooner, and the data on dexamethasone is still early and limited. The ethics of the trials will be closely scrutinized. England's regulator will have to be convinced the risk is worth the potential reward.
The challenge trial would have to make the cogent argument that the benefits to society greatly outweigh the risk, and that evidence or those data could not be achieved in a simpler, safer way.
Volunteers will be strictly screened to exclude known risk factors, but those selected must fit a limited profile. They'll have to be young and very healthy. Alistair hopes he's in with a chance.
If ever is the time to push the boundaries and discover how quickly we can do stuff and how well we can do stuff and to take on risks for other people, it's now.
Phil Black, CNN, London.
Man, he's a fool.
Dr. Shoshana,
I'm sorry. Yeah. Why would you volunteer?
Breaking news out of Midtown. 3 men were killed, another hurt at a nightclub. This happened at the DD Sky Club last night. A security guard tells us he believes the victims were targeted. Channel 2's Kathy Hernandez is where that shooting took place. Kathy, what can you tell us?
Good morning. The shooting happened right here on the second story of DD Sky Club. The security guard of the club says the 3 victims were up-and-coming talented rappers. He believes their murders were premeditated and the shooters came here to kill. A senseless shooting that claimed the lives of 3 men trying to get an opportunity in the rap industry. That's how a security guard of the DD Sky Club describes it.
There was a fight, there was an altercation inside of the bar.
2 groups of men started fighting on the second story of the nightclub on Shenanford in Gray just before 10 last night.
And then these two individuals produced weapons and shot in the crowd.
Police say 3 men were shot dead. Another was wounded and expected to survive. The shooters got away. The security guard doesn't know the motive, but believes the shooters targeted the victims. He says the victims were in their early 20s and signed up to perform at the club every week. Police haven't released descriptions of the shooters, but they're talking to witnesses and looking at surveillance video for help. Houston police are urging witnesses come forward to help catch the killers.
They should contact the Houston Police Department if they know who's involved in this particular shooting.
The security guard at the club says that those 3 victims were here and they actually had family members here to watch them perform. Police say it's unclear right now on what sparked the fight or if they all knew each other. Of course, we'll continue to follow this developing story. Reporting live in Midtown, Kathy Hernandez, KPRC, Channel 2 News.
All right. New Jersey woman managed to make a secret plea to a stranger for help as police say she was being kidnapped, carjacked, and robbed in Clifton. Police say Travis Mann approached a couple parked near an intersection around 11 o'clock Friday night. Mann allegedly told them that he was a police officer and they were breaking the law by being intimate in a public place. He told them that they would have to pay him cash if they wanted to avoid arrest. The couple drove Mann to a bank after he suggested he was armed. Police say a second suspect, Paul Dunlop, followed in another car. Now, the female victim was able to mouth the words, "Help me," to a bystander who arrived at the bank parking lot. Nearby police officers quickly responded to the scene and arrested both suspects.
Now, see, that's good that there was somebody there and didn't go, hey, it ain't bothering me, it ain't my problem. But they actually got involved.
A break in the case of that attack at a free speech protest in San Francisco. It happened over the weekend and was captured on camera. A man punched an organizer so hard that he knocked out one of his teeth. Today, police say that man has been arrested, and what he's charged with is also noteworthy. NBC Bay Area's Ross Plater has the latest from San Francisco.
That the protest happened here behind me at UN Plaza, both the planned demonstration and the massive counter-protest that took place on Saturday afternoon. The original event was billed as a free speech rally by a conservative group called Team Save America, but the handful of rally organizers and participants were quickly outnumbered by hundreds of counter-protesters even before the demonstration began. The organizer, Philip Anderson, was punched in the face while arguing with another protesters. The punch knocked out his front tooth and was caught on numerous video cameras and was shared online. Now, San Francisco police aren't saying how they tracked down the suspect, but say they've arrested 35-year-old Adora Anderson of Watsonville. He was booked on charges of mayhem and, perhaps more importantly, a hate crime enhancement. Now, that means if he's convicted, he could face a more significant prison sentence. Police won't say how they identified Anderson as a suspect, only that he was arrested in Oakland on Sunday. Now, that assault has garnered national attention In fact, a man in Arizona has put up a GoFundMe event or drive to try and help get money for Philip Anderson to fix his teeth. So far, they've raised more than $28,000. Live in San Francisco, I'm Ross Plater, NBC Bay Area News.
Right.
Oh no, school bus.
Hey, good morning. I'm Chris Raggi. We are interrupting programming again for breaking news right now. In Orange County, New York, a serious crash involving a school bus and another vehicle. It happened just before 8:30 this morning in New Windsor on Route 207. That's Little Britain Road, where it intersects with Beatty Road. The Washingtonville School District confirms this is a bus carrying students to Little Britain Elementary School. We are told there are at least 12 people hurt, 4 of which are said to be in critical condition at this time. The school district says the parents of all the students involved have been notified. We have a crew on the scene gathering more information, and we will bring you any updates as it becomes available here on CBS 2, CBS in New York, and CBSNewYork.com. But just to reiterate, a serious crash in Orange County. This is in New Windsor, happened just after 8:30 this morning on Route 207. The Washingtonville School District confirmed this was a bus carrying students to Little Britain Elementary. 12 people hurt, 4 said to be in critical condition. We've been following this story all morning, and as I mentioned, we will have more for you as it's warranted here on CBS 2 and CBSN New York. I'll see you at noon with an update on this situation along with all the other news of the day. Thanks for joining us here. I'm Chris Raggi from Studio 55.
I hope the kids are all right. Man, that boy was crushed.
A New Mexico firefighter who usually works to save lives is in trouble after doing something that police say could have cost people their lives. During her arrest, she begged and begged for a break. The deputy didn't give in. That was the request for favor number 1 from Lieutenant Michelle Serrano of the Grants Fire Department during her DWI arrest last month after she crashed her truck into a Jeep as a police officer watched.
I'm about to lose my job right here.
Then came the begging that would not stop for an hour.
I get it.
People County deputies had taken over the case because Serrano works closely with Grants police officers and was friends with them. But the deputy in charge of the investigation had also known her for years.
I'm about to lose my job right about now.
I have to do my job. She didn't give up even after she was taken to the station, offering to pay for the damage and asking again for a break.
Why did you call me out?
Because I have to hold you accountable for what you did. As they arrived at the county jail, Serrano took a parting shot at the deputy he had been pleading with since the crash.
Send me in jail, so make yourself look appropriate.
Finally gives up after reaching the point of no return. No one was hurt in that crash. After failing her field sobriety test, Serrano refused to take a breathalyzer, so she is now charged with aggravated DWI. She is still listed as an employee on the fire department's website.
The good lawyer trying to keep your little job. A drunk on the fire department.
I interviewed Philip Anderson at the Daly City Airbnb where he was staying just hours after a sucker punch knocked out his 2 front teeth at the rally he organized for this past Saturday.
What are we becoming now? To where people are going to come and knock the teeth out of my mouth and punch me in the face and then yell Black Lives Matter at me. White people. Okay? It doesn't make any sense to me, but that's what happened.
Anderson is a 25-year-old immigrant from Ethiopia, adopted as a child by a Texas family. Over the past year, his far-right activism and his support for President Trump brought him to the Portland riots.
Oh, I'm not going to go home. I will not be intimidated. It must stop.
And to the White House. He planned a march for this past Saturday from UN Plaza to Twitter headquarters.
The entire event was literally just about big tech and their racism and oppression against me, banning me over 14 times, shadow banning my current account.
But his flyer for the event featured prominent leaders of the Proud Boys, a hate group according to the Southern Poverty Law Center and mentioned in the first presidential debate.
What do you want to call them? Give me a name.
White supremacists and
What would you like me to get the Proud Boys? Proud Boys, stand back and stand by.
Anderson's flyer drew the attention of the Bay Area's Antifa movement. Social media posts called for an aggressive response to the rally.
Why did you come here?
The whole point right here. You don't have the right to protest, obviously. Okay? You don't have the right to free speech.
You weren't buying it that it was just about free speech.
Well, yeah, he can say what he wants, and I can come say what I want. That's what free speech is. And I want to say, you're not welcome here, please leave.
San Francisco public school teacher Max Raynard tells me he is not Antifa, was not part of Saturday's violence, but he was there for the counter-protest.
What I saw when I was there was individuals from the fascist side instigating and coming in and inciting so they could be portrayed as victims.
Before the event, in response to a wave of criticism online and death threats, according to Anderson, he announced on social media that the Proud Boys would not attend.
No one here is a Proud Boy. No one at the event was a Proud Boy.
But just 2 weeks ago, Anderson described himself as a member of the Proud Boys on Twitter.
Explain to me how we're racist when the Proud Boys have dozens and dozens of black members, including myself, by the way.
The counter-protesters vastly outnumbered Anderson's small group. He was attacked before the rally even began. The crowd pushed against the barricades, and the police ordered the rally to stop after less than 10 minutes. They escorted Anderson and the others and kept the crowd at bay until their van arrived.
This is wrapping up as they're walking down Market Street right now.
I saw people in black spraying anti-Proud Boys graffiti and chasing an Asian man in a red shirt. He was able to make it around the block to the police. They attacked this Trump supporter, dousing him with pepper spray. He suffered a leg injury. The SFPD reports that 3 officers had to be treated after being sprayed with caustic agents. Counter-protesters shut down Market Street. And now, Philip Anderson is being criticized by the Proud Boys leadership.
So I hear you're running your mouth, Philip, and that's cool.
Joe Biggs blasted Anderson for poor planning and pledged a full Proud Boys rally for San Francisco.
You had no attendance, had nobody show up, and the few that did were sorely outnumbered by the enemy.
Once again, Philip Anderson has been suspended from Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram for violating their standards in promoting his event in San Francisco. On Sunday, the SFPD made an arrest in this attack, charging 35-year-old Adora Anderson of Watsonville with mayhem and a hate crime enhancement.
Hey.
Can't wait to tell everyone about 18.
How many of y'all need about all this is going on? This is why I show these stories. Most of y'all don't pay attention to them. Most of y'all do not pay attention to these stories.
The 6 now, an 84-year-old woman attacked at McDonald's.
And tonight, the fast food giant is refusing to release surveillance video of the attack, and that's causing some big problems.
Yeah, let's go right to Local 10 News investigator Jeff Hines here live in Hialeah with the exclusive for us tonight. Jeff.
The Miami-Dade State Attorney's Office calling it an absolute injustice. Despite a subpoena and despite trying for months and months to get it, McDonald's refusing to turn over key evidence. Right. Refusing to hand over surveillance video of an elderly woman being attacked in this parking lot. But late this afternoon, a judge ordered Mickey D's to turn over the tape. Back in February, 8 months ago, an 84-year-old woman is followed out of this Hialeah McDonald's. A police report says she was approached from behind. Suspects snatched the car keys from around her neck, pushed her to the ground, and then took off in her Toyota Corolla. Police on the scene viewed the surveillance video. They recognized and identified 24-year-old
Jonathan Reyes. He was taken into custody after fleeing from police days later.
That video, obviously a key piece of evidence in prosecuting Reyes for the crime. And the Miami-Dade State Attorney's Office has been trying to get their hands on it for months. They even issued a subpoena. But McDonald's is fighting it in court.
So the State Attorney's Office has now filed this motion asking a judge to order that video be handed over. The motion accuses McDonald's of withholding physical evidence, placing the prosecution in jeopardy. In a statement to Local 10 News, Kathy Fernandez-Rundle's office says, quote, by intentionally withholding video evidence, McDonald's appears unconcerned about this crime victim, unconcerned about Florida criminal statutes, and unconcerned about the safety of the residents of Miami-Dade County. McDonald's said they would hand over the video if prosecutors agreed not to give it to a third party, including the media, and then give it back once the trial is over.
An individual or a corporation can't withhold that evidence and dictate the condition that they're going to release it.
Ken Padowitz was a prosecutor for 16 years, is a criminal defense attorney now, and a professor in his 33 years practicing law.
I've never seen anything quite like this.
Padowitz says the video can't be given back. It needs to be preserved by the clerk in case there's an appeal after trial.
Here they were served with a legal subpoena for the evidence, and they're saying, no, we're not going to honor that legal subpoena unless you meet our conditions and come to a written agreement with us. That, to me, is absurd, it's obscene, it's anti-community.
McDonald's corporate telling us by email that they're working with the state attorney's office, but that email did not address why the tape hasn't been turned over for the past several months or why the subpoena was ignored. McDonald's has been given till October 23rd at 5 o'clock to turn over that tape or their attorneys could face sanctions. In the meantime, that elderly victim is recovering. She has asked us for safety reasons not to identify her. We're live tonight in Hialeah. Jeff Wines here, Local 10 News.
That's damn shame. So Ronald McDonald won't help out an elderly woman that got assaulted coming from the restaurant. Wow. That really makes a good looking image.
They're investigating 2 shootings in Arlington just one day and 1 block apart.
That's right. Today, a woman is recovering after being shot outside an apartment complex on Arco Road. But just yesterday, just 1 block down Arco Road, a man was shot to death. News4JAX reporter Maggie Lorenz is live where today's shooting happened. Maggie, are they related?
Well, Denise, that's the glaring question in all of this because, yes, you have 2 shootings that happened so close together. I'll show you actually where they both happened. The first today with the woman who was shot happened in the parking lot here, the Monterey Apartments. And then if we move the camera further down Arco Drive here where you see that line of parked cars, that is where yesterday's deadly shooting happened. But no, to answer your question, a sergeant with JSO told us today he does not think these crimes are related. We asked today, and he said he believes today's shooting is a domestic incident. A woman in her 30s or 40s was shot outside of the parking lot, and she is expected to be okay. Right now, though, there is no suspect information on who shot her. This shooting happened around 10:30 this morning. And then this video is from when my photographer and we were out here yesterday for the shooting that left 1 man dead at the Arco Place Apartments just down the road like you saw. He was shot inside of an apartment unit, and there is also no suspect info in that case. The JSO told us the gunman is armed and dangerous. Today's shooting involving the woman, JSO says they did interview witnesses, but they are still asking for the public's help in both of these shootings with any information that can help police. We're live in Arlington. I'm Maggie Lorenz, Channel 4, the local station.
For the 3rd day in a row.
Hospitalizations are increasing and more schools are delaying reopening. CBS 2's Nick Calloway live in Paramus now. Nick.
Christina Maurice, after flattening the curve for months, a surge of new cases is flooding New Jersey, and it comes as many schools face the possibility of closing again. It's no longer just a few hotspot counties causing the virus to spread in New Jersey. The problem is now widespread from North Jersey to South. With more than 1,000 positive cases coming a day, the numbers are still low compared to the spring, but experts say a second wave is here.
This is not something we didn't expect. We expected a second wave to happen in the fall. The question is how bad it gets, and that means peak and how quickly we get to that peak.
The president and CEO of University Hospital Newark says the hospital is already nearly at capacity with non-COVID patients. Now the COVID hospitalizations are increasing again.
Signs are pointing that this is about to get worse.
State health officials say it's mostly indoor gatherings and parties contributing to the spike, not schools or businesses. New Jersey's governor says that makes it harder to contain.
As far as we can tell, these are mostly gatherings that are beyond our ability to effectively regulate or easily enforce compliance.
Schools may not be driving the outbreak, but they are affected by it. New Jersey's largest public school district, Newark, has joined Patterson in delaying reopening until at least January. More suburban districts could be next. Paramus Public Schools sent this letter to parents, warning that the statewide spike in cases means a greater likelihood that schools and/or entire districts may be ordered back to full remote learning for all students. Parents we talked to say they're worried, but safety comes first.
It'll definitely be difficult to work as a working parent from home and have kids at home. But again, safety is number one. So if we have to close the schools, we'll close the schools.
As for potential rollbacks, the governor told me today he hopes to avoid any large-scale closures like we saw in the spring, but that further limiting the capacity on gatherings is on the table. Reporting live in Paramus, New Jersey, Nick Calloway, CBS 2 News.
Okay, Nick, thank you.
Thank you. All right, let's keep it going.
Bronx trying to identify a man who allegedly slashed a fellow bus passenger. It happened October 6th aboard an MTA bus traveling on Willis Avenue. Police say the man in this image got into a verbal dispute with a 31-year-old man, which turned into a physical fight. Police say the suspect then pulled a knife and stabbed the victim several times before getting off the bus and fleeing. The victim was taken to the hospital in stable condition.
And he ride the bus no more.
In a shooting in our area last night, police say someone fired several shots from a car in East Flatbush, hitting 2 teenage boys and a 20-year-old man. The victims were taken to the hospital with multiple gunshot wounds. No word on their condition. It is unclear if they were targeted. So far, there have been no arrests.
All right, we got an update from the school crash. Okay. You tricked me.
And a landscaping truck collided in Orange County. You can get a good look at the crash scene here from Drone Force 2. This happened near the intersection of Little Britain Road and Beatty Road. That's in New Windsor, off of 207. CBS News' Tony Aiello live at the scene this noon with more for us. Tony?
Chris, that mangled school bus makes for a terrible sight here on Route 207, Little Britain Road. The bus from the Washingtonville Central School District was taking children to Little Britain Elementary. Investigators are trying to determine why and how it collided with a Flanagan Tree Service truck that was pulling a wood chipper. This white sedan that you see at the scene does not appear to have been involved in the collision. There's word some of the victims had to be extricated by first responders. The scene described as just horrific. New Windsor cops say 7 children off on their own.
You gonna do it on the last? You know you wrong. I ain't saying nothing.
To be checked for bumps.
You know you wrong for this. The last video?
We're told 3 people were seriously injured and 2 were admitted for treatment, according to an official at the hospital. The damage to the vehicles speaks to the violence of the wreck. A witness told us what he heard this morning.
I was out on my back deck having my morning coffee before 9 o'clock. It must have been about 8:30 maybe, and heard a loud boom and almost sounded like a container was coming off of a garbage truck.
Yeah, I'm saying.
And took a shower, and then my wife said
now, we didn't stop. We went right to the next video, so it shouldn't have been no problem.
A state police accident reconstruction
and of course,
team is here
that's when it did
all kinds of sophisticated equipment to document the crash scene. They'll look at speed, they'll look at weather conditions, mechanical failure, and many other possible contributors to this crash. The Washingtonville Central School District says parents of all the children have been contacted and support services will be provided to the victims. Orange County communities typically rally around their own in situations like this, and no doubt that will be the case here. Reporting live in New Windsor, Orange County, Tony Aiello, CBS 2 News.
Quick question for you. What do we know about seatbelts on board? Were there any?
Chris, I checked the website from the Washingtonville schools. They say there are seatbelts on newer buses, but they're only mandatory in small buses that carry fewer than 10 students. On the larger buses, such as this one, they're optional. That's one of the things we're trying to nail down. Was this installed with seatbelts, and were kids using them?
Tony Aiello for us. Tony, thank you. And stay with CBS 2 for continuing coverage of this breaking news. We will have updates on the
Look at that bus. That whole front of that bus gone.
And our website, CBS New York.
Whole front of that bus
shooting
gone.
In our area last night. Police say someone fired some.
All right. Now we got to come back here. See what it's showing. That's what we. All right, we are back. All righty, we saw a lot of stories today. Anybody got any comments or anything to say? All righty then. It's gonna be a fast show today. Let's go ahead and check the TV numbers. I'm going to be able to watch the wrestling in real time. Dude, it's only 7 o'clock. I might even go to the market. 7 to 8, 8 to 9, 9 to 10, 3 hours. I don't know. I might ride up to the market. Check the CV numbers. What is it? 655? Check our CV numbers. We can get up out of here. Shoot. 8,576,362 cases. 227,268 deaths. Whoa, I told y'all Texas was going to take number 1. I told y'all Texas was going to take number 1. And they did it. Texas is number 1. They took it. Man. And look at that. 5,192 cases. They lost 106 people today. California, the old number 1, you're number 2. They picked up 1,998 new cases. They lost 87 people. Florida, 2,145 cases. Florida lost 100 people today. New York, 1,922. They lost 11 people today. Illinois is hot on that trail. They picked up 4,342 new cases. They lost 68 people. No stats for Georgia. North Carolina, 1,842 new cases. They lost 40. Tennessee, 2,292 new cases. They lost 18. Arizona, 975. They lost 17. New Jersey, 715. They lost 16. Pennsylvania, 1,359. They lost 39. Ohio, 2,348 new cases. They lost 65. Hey. Wisconsin, 4,205. They lost 48. Louisiana, 718. They lost 18. No stats for Alabama. Virginia, 1,018 new cases. They lost 30. Michigan, 1,878. They lost 35. Missouri, no stats. South Carolina, 864. They lost 12. Indiana, 1,732. They lost 15. Massachusetts, 702. They lost 22. Maryland, 492. They lost 8. Minnesota, 1,060. They lost 35. Mississippi, 801. They lost 21. Oklahoma, 1,307. They lost 19. Iowa, 1,116. They lost 28. Washington, 235. No losses. Arkansas, 1,155. They lost 23. Utah, 1,363. They lost 6. Nevada, 565. They lost 5. Kentucky, 1,452. They lost 21. Colorado, 1,267. They lost 12. Kansas, 1,313. They lost 56. Connecticut, 416. They lost 8. No stats for Nebraska. No stats for Idaho. Oregon, 307. They lost 2. New Mexico, 819. They lost 8. South Dakota, 587. They lost 3. North Dakota, 499. They lost 10. Rhode Island, 474. They lost 5. Montana, 619. They lost 23. Delaware, 50. They lost 2. West Virginia, 215. They lost 5. District of Columbia, 53. No losses. Hawaii, 77. 14 losses. Alaska, 212. 1 loss. New Hampshire, 89. 1 loss. Wyoming, 322. No losses. Maine, 38. No losses. Vermont, 15. No losses. Puerto Rico, 187. 5 losses. Guam, 82. 2 losses. Virgin Islands, 2 losses. No deaths. No stats for the Mariana Islands. U.S. military, 1,435 new cases. They lost 2. Veteran Affairs, 383 new cases. They lost 12. 128 new cases in federal prisons. Navajo Nation, no deaths. And Navajo Nation, 30 with no deaths. So we got 8,576,362 cases. 55,412 new cases for the whole country today. 227,268 deaths. 1,084 people died today. 1,084 people died today. Alrighty. If nobody want to talk today, and it's all good, but just go out of here, get out of here early. Y'all have a good one. And like I say, I'll see you later on. Y'all have a great one. Peace, and we out. We gonna do the show whether nobody talk or not. I can do it myself.